Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I hope that you are fine and doing very well. Dear students, I was unable to complete the first chapter in my first video, so I'm gonna try to finish the first chapter in this video, and this video is going to cover the scope triangle and the problems that arise during any project, the scope creep, hope creep, effort creep, and addition, project classification, and its type. So, dear students, let's start with the scope triangle. Scope triangle is actually a graphical representation of three main factors which affects the scope of any project. In the next slides, I'm going to show you the triangle, which consists of mainly three factors that affect the project management. Those are quality, cost, and time. Quality refers to the fitness for use or fitness for any its design purpose, and cost refers to the resources available, budget, people, etc. And as far as the time is concerned, it refers to the time available to complete the project. And these factors affect all the projects, and the interrelationship is depicted in the picture in the later slides. Thus, while defining the project scope, the interaction of these factors need to be kept in mind, and they should be in equilibrium. So when you're dealing with the projects, they are dynamic in nature and they are ever changing. So being as a project manager, you have to keep all these forces, the three forces, in equilibrium. A change in any force or any factor will lead change in other two variables. For example, if you are going to extend the time duration of any project, so it's gonna bring change in cost and available resources. The cost will increase, and as well as the resources needed to complete the project will also increase. So you have to be very careful while bringing any sort of change in these three forces. Uh, Project scope. Priorly, I have talked about project scope. That what is project scope? It is actually part of project planning, which consists of documenting a list of specific project goals, deliverables, feature functions, tasks, deadline, and last but not the least, cost. And according to project management body of knowledge, it defines the project scope as the work that needs to be accomplished to deliver a product, service, or result with the specified feature and functions. Scope creep. Dear students, scope creep is widely used terminology in the project management, which means that any change which was not anticipated during the defining phase of project scope and was not part of the original plan. Uh, to put it simply, it is actually the inclusion or introduction of requirements to the project scope which was not previously defined. And scope creep can be a project manager's worst nightmare because it causes exceeding the budget, delays, and even project failures. And being as a project manager, you have to identify the scope creeps, and you have to know that how to adjust these changes in the project scope. Now, the question is, what causes the scope creep? There are numerous causes which leads to scope creep. There may be poor communication between client, team members, or stakeholders, and attempting to add additional changes. And it can be time frame, deadline that are impossible to achieve the project's goal. Hope creep. Hope creep is different from scope creep. In short, hope creep is lying about the status of the project or task until you are caught. And hope creep involves sending misleading status reports about the project, showing that the project is on time, on the budget, and on the schedule. And you're hoping to get back on schedule by the next report date. And thus it leads the project manager into thinking that the allocated work is on the schedule, and in reality they are not. And being as a project manager, how to overcome the hope creep by verifying the accuracy of the status report shared by the member teams. Effort creep. Effort creep is when one of the team members makes a huge effort on a task that is nearly done, but cannot finish it. For example, a task is 80% done in 1 week, and the team member is working on the remaining 20% for several weeks with no end in sight. One way in which a project manager can handle the effort creep is to have a status meeting with the concerned resources frequently and try to investigate the factors influencing it. And by introducing creative or innovative methods to resolve problems which can boost progress and bring the project to a successful conclusion. Feature creep. Feature creep is a common problem that comes up in many projects. When it comes to product design, it is easy to assume that you will create a better product if you include more features. More feature will result into more value for your users. In majority of the cases, by adding more features into your product, the product becomes complex and the customers are not there to pay for the extra features. Any additional features that you introduce into your product add to the complexity of your design, and in return, this can finish the usability of your product. Thus, the project managers have to avoid feature creep by adding more feature in order to impress the customer, and for which the customers are not ready to pay for it, and it also have bad impact on the project scope as well. Project classification. Many organizations have chosen to define a classification of project on the basis of project characteristics, and these characteristics include a risk of project, business value, length of projects, complexity of project, and the technology used in the projects, and the number of departments affected because of the projects, and the last is cost. Many organizations choose to categorize their projects on the basis of risk, and risk can be defined in financial terms as the chances that an outcome or investment's actual gains will differ from an expected outcome or return. And risk includes the possibility of losing some or all of your investment. One way to categorize the project by its characteristic is risk. Many organizations categorize their project on the basis of high risk projects, medium risk projects, and low risk projects. In high risk projects, I would give you example of green field projects in which a parent company creates a subsidiary in a different country, building its operation from ground up. In addition to construction of new production facilities, these projects can include building of new distribution hub, offices, etc. For example, if a Nestle company wants to create a subsidiary in Afghanistan, so this project will be categorized according to the risk, and the risk is tend to be high. On the other hand, projects which have medium risk may include brownfield projects, and brownfield projects occur when an entity purchases or leases an existing facility to begin new production in the foreign country. The second characteristic by which organization can categorize their projects are on the basis of business value. And business value is the standard value measure used in business valuation. According to a project management body of knowledge, defines business value as the entire value of the business. For example, the total sum of all tangible and intangible elements. Tangible elements include monetary assets, stockholder equity, and fixture and utility. Example of intangible elements may include brand, recognition, goodwill, public benefit, and trademark, etc. If a project has high risk, so the same project will have high business value as well. The third characteristic by which organization can classify their project is length. Well, being the project manager, you have to establish several categories on the basis of which you can complete the project. For example, it can be 3 months, 3 to 6 months, or 6 to 12 months, etc. So, a project which has high risk, high business value, and the length of this project will be also high. And if a project has medium term risk, so it will have medium business value, and the length of this project will be also medium. And the same is true for low business risk, low project risk, low business value, and the length will be similarly lesser, comparatively medium to high. The fourth way by which organization can classify the project, that is complexity characteristic. So organization establish categories like high complexity projects, medium complexity projects, and low complexity projects. By classifying the project on the basis of complexity, it's gonna give an idea to the project manager that what sort of projects they are dealing with. For example, a project with a high complexity, so project managers will be able to use the knowledge, expertise, skills that is required by the high complexity projects. Furthermore, if the project has high risk, high business value, and duration is also high, so this implies that the project managers are dealing with the high complexity projects. Another way of classifying the project is on the basis of technology used in the projects. If a project has high complexity, high business value, high risk, and the duration is also high, so most likely the technology used in these projects will be something like breakthrough technology. The second loss characteristic by which organization can categorize their projects or are on the basis of number of departments affected, and where you have to establish some sort of category or level. For example, one department is affected, few or several or all. For example, if a organization is going for restructuring projects when company or businesses a model has changed due to internal or external factors and needs to adopt in order to survive and ultimately grow. So in such projects, the number of departments affected or in fact all the departments will be affected by it. The last classification is on the basis of cost characteristic, a project which has high complexity, number of departments affected or all, and in addition, the risk is high, business value is high, duration is also high, so the cost of doing the project will also be high. And same is true for low cost projects and medium cost projects. Now, dear students, what I'm going to present you is project types. We have type A, type B, C, and D. So initially, I'm going to discuss type A projects with you. So type A projects are those projects in which you have high business value, high complexity, and these projects are most challenging for the organization due to the fact that these projects have high risk. So the technology used will be latest technology, and technology intervention will be higher comparatively to human intervention, and using these latest technologies will somehow reduce or eliminate the risk to some acceptable level. The example of type A project would be introduction of a new technology into an existing product. For example, the telecommunication sector wants to diffuse the new technology 5G into existing product, so that would fall into type A projects. Type B projects, these are more challenging and most important projects for any organization. Comparatively, they are shorter in length and scope, and all the techniques, methods, or tools which are required to complete the project. So, Project B actually relies on all those project management techniques. In addition, these projects have good business value, and technologically speaking, they are challenging as well. So, if company wants to produce or develop new product, so these product development projects fall into this category. Type C projects in any organization, these projects are the most occurring projects, and by comparison, they are shorter in scope and length as compared to project A and project B. And any project which deals with the infrastructure of any organization falls into this category. And the project team members consist of 5 people, and the project continues for 6 months, and the project is actually based on less than adequate scope. And as far as the risk is involved, complexity, so they are considered to be low in these projects. Type D projects actually merely fits into the definition of a project, and these projects only require a scope statement and a few scheduling information. Type D projects involve making minor changes in any existing process or procedure, or revising a course in the training curriculum. If any organization is involved in improving or revising the SOPs, standard operating procedures, so these will fall into Type D projects. Or if BBA department is going to revise the course or improving the curriculum of BBA, so this will be considered as Type D project for the organization. Dear student, in this I'm going to sum up the project types on the basis of duration, risk, complexity, technology, and likelihood of problems. So the first type A project, the duration is more than 18 months, and the risk is high, and complexity is also high, and the technology used in these projects are breakthrough, and the problems, there will be certainly problems due to the fact that It has high risk and high complexity of activities. And type B, comparatively, the duration is 9 to 18 months, and the risk is medium, complexity is also medium, and technology, these projects can rely on the current technology, and the problems, likelihood of the problems will be lesser as compared to type A. Type C project duration is 3 to 9 months, risk is low, complexity is low, and the technology these projects rely on or best of breed, and likelihood of the problem will be some. And last but not the least, type D project duration is less than 3 months, risk is very low, complexity is very low, and technology, they are not going to rely on technology, but rather it will be practical, and likelihood of problem will be none. And type D projects merely fits into the definition of project, but still they are called projects.